The champ is here.
Yes, sir.
My
What's
man
up?
Cody, how you feeling? Has a smile wiped off your face in the last couple of days at all?
No, when somebody says the champ is here, I get all jacked up. Gets me all fired up. So I get a big smile every time that happens. So I'm excited, man. I've been riding this high for the last like 4 or 5 days.
Man, honestly, to take a phrase from the late, great Kobe Bryant, I mean, Mamba mentality, man. Mamba mentality. You walked in there knowing, I'm going to win this game.
Yeah.
And that's the way it is. And we're going to have to make it happen any way we can. You didn't let up at all. Your family, first and foremost, must be super proud. I want to dig into that for a second, man. Your family must have been proud of the way you played, the way you did what you did. Then you won the game.
I know. Yeah, my dad is, I don't know if you're aware of this, my dad's been a Big Brother super fan since season 1. And so to watch, and he respects Dr. Will, like through the roof, respects players like Dan, like Derek, and he literally watched and was like, that was one of the best games I've seen played. And I like hearing that from my father, and then my family and my girlfriend, who wasn't even a fan of Big Brother, then became a super fan and watched previous seasons and all this stuff. Like it was so cool to hear that, and then see my aunt and uncle and how proud of them I was. Like it was pretty amazing. It was pretty awesome to have my family be so supportive and supportive in the way that they were. It really is so rewarding.
This is a game where you have to, quote unquote, use other people to bring your game along, and they're thinking they're doing the same with you and whatnot. There were some key players this season who, you aligned with. I mean, you aligned with a lot of people, but
yeah, right.
I mean, you got to give some props to, let's say, 2 or 3 people. I'll let you mention who you want, that really helped you get further in the game to solidify with different alliances. And then when you had to cut them, hey, too bad, you got to cut them because only one person will win.
Right. Some of those people were, honestly, Danny was a huge one of that. I think Danny was one of the best players in the house. And I think the problem with being one of the best players in the house is if you're going to be, you can't let people notice it. And I think too many people started to notice it. And then she got caught up in a lot of different things. And that's ultimately what caused mine and her relationship to peel off, because I was like, if I'm tight to you, I'm going to go down with you. Like, everybody wants you out. And so for me, she was somebody that helped me a lot. Memphis was somebody that was like a huge, because I was like, dude, this guy's a beast. He's winning a lot of HOHs. And I think he's going to be like that huge threat that people target first. Nobody targeted him either. Tyler was another one. And then just my relationships with Enzo and Nicole, like people would say stuff to Enzo, not realizing how tight we were. And he would tell me everything, and gaining this information from Enzo, and like the information that I was gaining from a lot of different people made the decisions, and those calculated decisions, so much easier. Cause like a lot of times Enzo would be like, dude, I don't think we should do this. And I'm like, well, the reason why we have to do this is X, Y, and Z. Remember, like this was said, and this was said, and this means like people are probably going to do this. And so having all that information, you can't play a game that I played without having all those really serious and solidified, trustworthy alliances where the information is coming to you so you can make calculated decisions. So like, I'm not one to say that my game would have been what it was if it wasn't for the people that I surrounded myself with, because if you don't have those people, you can't play the game. And so those people are just as important as you are as like your own game going to the end. So I'm very thankful with the people that I surrounded myself with, because ultimately I think that is the biggest benefit to getting to the end.
And watching the show as a fan, you're just like, wow, this legend and that legend, and this guy's been on twice, she's been on twice, and it's like, what's going to happen? And your mind just blows every week going, who's going to talk to who? But more importantly, who's going to believe what's being said? You know what I mean? Like, it was just so incredible to watch this season. And dude, the 9-0 vote, come on.
I know. It's crazy. I never would have thought it was going to be 9-0. Never, ever. If you were like, it's going to be a blowout, it's going to be 9-0, I would have been like, no, it's not. People are going to vote for Enzo. So, because I always wanted to take Enzo. That was always something I wanted to do. And, like it did weigh heavily on me about Nicole because of how important I felt she was to my game and how much we worked together. But I always wanted to take Enzo, but I never thought it was going to be a 9-0. Never.
You really felt, and we could tell watching on TV, man, unless you're the greatest actor, but I do feel like you really felt you were so sad to have to make that decision and cutting Nicole, because you guys were tight. So were you and Enzo. I mean, it's just a thing of, well, who do I take and how does it work? And take me through that for a sec, because it was, even we could see when we were watching, and she was obviously very, upset about what happened too in the moment, right?
And he even was like, even Enzo was getting emotional in that moment, like, which he rarely, like, he showed, like, he was getting, like, choked up because, like, both of these people knew, like, this is the person that I, like, was playing my whole game with. But I was playing my whole game with both of them. So it became so difficult to be like, all right, I'm going to cut Nicole. Even though I knew it was the right choice, it doesn't make it an easy choice. Like, just because you're making the right decision that you feel is best for you doesn't make it an easy choice. And that's why I feel like it was the way, like, I reacted the way that I did, because it wasn't acting in any way. It was me having to cut somebody that I viewed as like a little sister and like was so close with, and like I'm the person that, like, there's no other blame. Like, it's not like, oh, you can blame yourself, you can blame other people that didn't vote. It was like my sole vote casted against her. So that, like, that weighed heavily on me.
So Enzo was always going to be your number one?
Enzo was always going to be my guy. I said it from the beginning of the game. Enzo not voting out Nicole showed me so clearly how he was playing the game, not just for himself, but for me too. That was so clear for me. Was like, he had an opportunity and he had wanted Nicole out from the beginning of the game. And his choice to not do that, like, solidified it, like, this guy's riding for me. And he had told me about that Wise guys right before that. Like a little while before that, like a week before that. And so, like, I was like, this dude is literally playing his game for himself and for me, not just for himself. And so that really sealed the deal with me. And then also going through, I was like, if I win and I take Nicole, I think I could beat her, but I still think it would be tough. And with Enzo, I felt more like, I feel it's like it's up in the air, and I feel like I can do better. I can do a better job at convincing. And that's what ultimately, like, it came down to for me. But always, like, I wanted to ride with Enzo to the end of that game, right from the jump.
Take about 20 seconds and give me some highlights of Enzo's game and Nicole's game, because you're all, I mean, legends in this game, to be honest.
Yeah. I think what people don't give Enzo credit for, and I was saying this to Danny a lot, Enzo is so smart, but he is a little, like, he is affected a little bit more by that, like, emotional, like, I want to make a big move. But Enzo's game, he's not just social and that's it. Like, he's social and he knows, like, this person's going with this person, like, this person's going with this person. I think what's best for me is to go after this person, but is then willing to have a conversation and confide in you. And Nicole's able to do the same thing, but Nicole was incredible at like seeing what was going on in the game and, like, kind of understanding where she needed to put herself. And I think she laid low and was trying to do the same thing Ian was doing, just did a little bit better of a job at it, and, like, kind of went under the radar. I think they were both incredible players. I think Nicole kind of solidified how good of a player she was by coming back and going to the end of the game, similar to Enzo. I think it's like anybody that called Enzo just like a social guy. You can't just be a social guy and get to the final three one time and then to the final two the second time. Like, Enzo, I think, and Nicole both seal the deal that they are not flukes of good players. Like, they are very good players in this game.
Now, one question that I'd let people know I was going to talk to you, and the fans sent in like hundreds of questions. This one I want to throw your way. It says, apparently Cody broke and tied a lot of records this season, most comp wins, most HOH wins, 100% time spent not being on the block, second unanimous vote. Was he at all thinking about this going in, and did he make it a goal, or did he just surprise himself?
Without a doubt, surprised myself. I did not know any of that information. I didn't know the not being on the block was a thing that it hits you like later in the game. I was like, wow, I haven't been on the block. That's not something you go in and are like, I'm going to not sit on the block. It's just, like, because you never know what could happen any given week. And then the competitions was crazy because I had gone in like not wanting to be a huge comp beast. And like after that first HOH, everybody kept being like, oh my God, you're a beast. And I was like, man, that is not what the target I want on my back this early in the game. But then you get to a point where it was like when HOH, when there's clear targets, and the one HOH veto sweep week was the first time that put me only at 4 comp wins. And I think a second sweep is what made me be like, oh boy, like I've won a lot of comps. Cause then it started coming up in the house, and then it started to be, oh, it's coming up to people. Now I have to win. And so for me, I was going into comps like, I don't care. Like, I need to win these comps. And then it just kind of rolls into just like more and more comp wins. Like, and even so, like in the final 4 HOH, I chose going after Christmas over winning that comp. Like, that's like, I guess it's not necessarily a throne comp, but like I was choosing to not win that one over like winning it when like I could have possibly won that, but also I could have possibly put myself in a corner and gotten out, and then Christmas wins it, and I don't think I'm in the same Final Three situation, you know? So, and I didn't want to be in that. I wanted Final Three to be me, Enzo, and Nicole more than I wanted anything else at that point. So I think maybe I don't know. I think a lot of those competitions, it's just crazy. It's crazy to have that amount of wins. I was not planning to do that.
An incredible season, an incredible win, $500,000 champ, Cody, man. Just an incredible season overall. So will we see you again potentially? People want to know, would you play again if they asked? Last question.
If they asked and it's under the right circumstances, I would and if it's not too recent, I think the most important thing was that I didn't play for 6 years. Where like some people go right back or some people are back a couple years later, and you don't have a time period to like really, really let everything sink in, which takes years. It doesn't just happen in a year. It doesn't happen in like, it takes a long time. And I think the best thing for me was that 6 years went by. I was able to mature and also reflect on the game, not just like think I'm reflecting on the game without growing as a person. I think I grew as a person, which caused more reflection. And I think that's why I was able to go in and play the way that I did. So under the right circumstances with enough time in between, I would love like to play the game against like, depending on what people are in there, I mean, what am I going to do? Say no?
Cody, thank you so much for the interview. I know we went a little over time, but thank you so much, guys. Thank you.